That's free radio. Gamers, get your ears on because we're blowing the speakers out.
Grimdark Live. It is time for Grimdark Live. This show is for the nerds, the outcasts, the weirdos.
And for short pants gamers?
No, not you.
Ah, crap.
Get ready, all you Grimdark goons, for dice, dragons, demons, and a dwarf. Only right here on Grimdark Live.
Let's hit the fucking road!
Hey, welcome to Grimdark Live, your weekly webcast for all things Dice, Dragons, Demons, and a Dwarf from the Warhammer worlds. I'm your host, Patrick, and as always, my co-host, Gary. What do you say, bud?
Back from the tournament and ready to discuss.
You are not kidding, man. You are literally like, there's another guy out there that we know, we call him the Road Warrior, but you are right up there with him, man. You are a tournament junkie. I mean, you go to these things all the time. You got another few coming up, don't you?
Next month is and then I'll be in Collinsville, Indiana for Siege World, which is a major. September so far, there's a break. I don't have one there. But in October, I'll be at the Michigan GT, and then November, I'll be at Warzone Atlanta. Yeah. And then Christmas time, and then I'll reschedule for the next year. So
yeah,
end of the year run.
I don't know how you do it, man. I don't know how you do it. You got some legs on you, man. You get to those things. But first, before we get started, we shouldn't be so rude, man. Hello, everyone, and thanks for joining us here tonight on Grimdark Live. And if you like our show, please don't forget to give our channel a like or subscribe if you haven't already done so. So yeah, Gary, our topic tonight, man. This is pretty close to your motivational gaming mojo on tonight's show. We're going to be talking tournaments, and so you are fresh back from Chaos Storm 2021 Indie Storm event, right? Indie Storm.
Correct. Yeah, ran by Chris Duncan.
Okay.
Greg.
I've heard the name before. Chris seems like a really good guy.
Yeah, he was at Armed Forces Day. He helped out
right.
with the mats for the 40K side of things and played in it and brought this big-ass squig off with him. So.
That's right. I do remember. Chris, thank you so much for all you did for Armed Forces Day, dude. And one of these days, I hope to get out to one of your 40K tournaments as soon as I really know what the hell I'm doing. Otherwise, I would just embarrass everyone, including Gary, which I would probably take a little bit of pride on. I wouldn't mind embarrassing Gary. I kind of like doing that.
It's pretty common occurrence currently, so it'll be all right.
Yeah. So you are back from Chaos Storm 2021,
yep.
And this was a 2-day, 5-round 40K ITC event.
Correct.
2,000 point armies, correct?
Yeah, 2,000 points. List submissions was, I think, a week prior to go in there. So yeah.
Okay.
Points. There was also on the Friday there was an invitational, which you got invited to with 16 players to enter, and it was single elimination. So I played in that as well. So I played in a 3-rounder Friday and then played 5 more games Saturday and Sunday.
All right. Well, we are going to break all that down, man, and hear about the whole thing, because a couple things I want to get into when we talk about the actual main tournament. And I'm not that I'm denigrating the Friday tournament at all. I'm not doing that.
Oh, yeah.
But I want to talk about the main one, because there was something, 3 detachments max. These were 2.5 rounds, I believe, going back. But one thing that caught me on their Facebook page was Indie Storm. They were saying is the newest gaming convention to come to Indianapolis. This was being held at Gamers Loot throughout April of 2021. So what's Gamers Loot? What is that all about?
That I haven't heard on Gamers Loot. I know they're part of the GLC Great Lakes tournament circuit that goes around it that has just started, and part of Death and Glory and all of those kind of things. That Gamers Loop is that whole organization that's set up there. And so basically it's a organization that's set up for 40K and Age of Sigmar tournaments, basically any tabletop game, to be a part of the Midwest and advertise, so we get more people involved to go out to all of them.
Gotcha. Well, we're going to touch on how tournaments themselves do just that. But good stuff coming up, man, for sure. I can't wait to hear about it, because honestly, Gary, you're a hell of a competitor, but I also like the way that you can kind of, how do I want to put this? You really know how to slice the onion layers back on tournament topics, playability, there's that word again, and really opponents and how to interact with them. I mean, I don't know, and I'm not saying this because, you're here on Grimdark Live with me. I'm being honest as a friend and someone that's played with you and against you. I don't know that there's many other people better than you at that type of dissection of a topic.
I appreciate that. There's a handful of them that's out there. I just try to do my best to make it more opening for other players to go out and experience playing at tournaments, just to realize that, hey, it's still 5 games of 40K.
Sure.
At
Sure.
the end of the day, to go out and play, and then you're meeting 99.8% of the time, the people that you meet are people that you want to meet again.
Right.
It's not like that dude, but those do exist, but we kind of weed them out.
Yep. And we're going to get into that here in a little bit. But before we do, man, here's that point in the show, man. So tell me, are you staying true or are you sniffing glue?
Well, currently now it's always staying true. I've got some other adjustments to make to the list that I used, and I'm working on those. And a lot of my staying true is basically just talking to my friend Aaron about tactics back and forth, and everybody else in the group as well, and meeting up and playing. So always staying true on that part. That'll be at the War Meet on Saturday.
Nice.
Probably I don't know if I'm playing a 40K game or an AOS game yet, though, but we'll find out.
I will bring both armies so that we can. Cause here's the thing. I got the green light, man. I'm there all day. I'm talking 10, 12-hour day, man. So I'm going to be there. So we got plenty of time for.
I am not. I have a block party, so I have a strict regiment to be home by about 5 o'clock.
Well,
so.
I understand that. The beer gets warm if you don't get there in time.
Or gone, one of the two.
Yeah, sons of bitches. For me, I got to be honest with you. I really was on a good roll with my Armiger Knights. You can hear me talking about. So I think I'm sniffing a little glue this week. To be honest with you, I really kind of I hit a point where I kind of gave up on the decals. They were aggravating me, so I kind of pulled them off and kind of had to retouch up and got a little discouraged and put them down. I really didn't start back on them again until early this morning before I went into my day job. So it was one of those things that I'm going to admit here. I think I'm sniffing a little glue, but I'm going to get back on the bike, man. I'm going to get those things dialed in because I really love the scheme I'm going with. And you know what? Honestly, I love the Army. I'm probably going to lose at best half my games, but you know something? I like big stompy robots, man. What can I say? What can I say? So, but good stuff. And folks, here coming up, we got more stuff coming up in the news. I got something that's kind of interesting in the news I want to kind of cross with you, Gary, because it's a topic that I think you're going to, again, like we talked about, I think you're going to be able to peel the onion layers back on this one. But we'll be right back with the news, gang. Stick around.
6 Squared Studios. 6 Squared Studios. I'll say it again. 6 Squared Studios. 6 Squared Studios are the real terrain nerds you all need to be getting your terrain from. Get your commercial laser-cut MDF bases, silicone molds for resin prints, game and hobby accessories like 15 to 28 millimeter terrain, 15 to 28 millimeter figures, and 15 to 28 millimeter vehicles, and a lot more. Get your nerd on with 6 Squared Studios. Check them out at 6squaredstudios.ca. Again, that's 6squaredstudios.ca. 6 Squared Studios.
Hey gang, today's news is brought to you by 6 Squared Studios. Yep, an awesome company for all your gaming and hobby needs. 6 Squared Studios. I'll say it again, 6 Squared Studios. So get your nerd on with 6 Squared Studios. Check them out at 6squaredstudios.ca. Again, that's 6-squaredstudios.ca. 6 Squared Studios, where tabletop terrain is made by gamers for gamers. Just like their saying goes, gaming accessories made by gamers for gamers. 6 Squared Studios.
6 Squared Studios. Tabletop terrain by expert nerds for exceptional nerds.
All right, we got the news, man, and I got a feeling that Gary is going to kind of be all over this this topic here, kind of like a cheap suit, man. You ready for this one, Gary?
Yep, hit me.
So, yeah, it's funny. The Beast Naga pre-order box issues. I'm just gonna kind of start right from there. Since the pre-order launch that was on Saturday, I think I heard that by 12:30 Central Standard Time, basically they were out of stock. So most of the Games Workshop and independent game stores around in this area open around noon. And within a half hour, they were out of stock. So more box set stock issues. And we're seeing this on both sides of the fence in the game here, but specifically talking tonight with 40K, we're seeing these issues with GW. With the Snaga box, it's sold out on nearly all GW stores, and from what I understand, all independent stores were either shorted or completely lost out on their stock list within that half hour. Now, there's a lot of orc players out there, man. That's a popular army.
I have no idea how they didn't prepare better for that. And I know that I'm a guy sitting in my basement talking on a podcast, but I have 15 years of supply chain experience, and you're talking about, other than Marines, which is their flagship, one of the most iconic armies in 40K. And when you're coming out with new rules and a new edition and a box set, and you're going, oh, well, Mr. Independent Store, you'll get 1 to 3. We don't know how many of those, if at all.
Right.
How do you justify that to go through it? So you sell out, so now you're on a shortage. Now, here's something that I find that very ironic. Years ago, Games Workshop used to not really keep up to date with their rules, right? It would be years before you got a new book or FAQ.
I remember those days.
The defense was what?
We're a model company, yeah. We're not a
well,
rules
you're
company.
A model company. Where are your models at?
Yeah.
How are you selling out of them? If that's what you do, where are they at? You should that press or however that you're making those, that thing should have been going nonstop and still going nonstop. And I don't want to hear, oh, well, it's this and it's this and it's this. Then don't release it till it's ready.
Right.
Come out and say, hey, we have this. Here's the backlog that we're going to have on it. Release the codex and then the models to follow. Don't just tease everybody to where now the people that want to play with them can't.
Right.
Yeah. Or here's what's even worse. Here's what you're doing, Games Workshop. And I don't know if you listen to this or not, but the people that are going to buy all of those, they're going to set up bots. I'm an IT guy. And it's going to just, as soon as it hits, it's going to buy it. And they're going to flip it around and put it on eBay for 4 times as much.
Yeah. And that's another thing that I think another black eye for GW. Well, but folks, I told you Gary was gonna dissect this onion layer pretty quick. But
there's another one too that goes along with that. Okay. You heard of 3D printing, right?
Oh, geez. Yeah. Here we go. Yeah.
You don't make it available to me.
Right.
What do you want me to do? Not play with it? Not use it?
Yeah.
Be at a disadvantage when I go out?
Oh no.
Or spend $300 and make it myself.
Gamers will always find a way.
Right.
For sure.
And the first way that a gamer will find is to buy it if it's available, because it's an immediate thing.
Mm-hmm.
I have it.
Yeah.
If you don't do that, then we're going to go around to different avenues to be able to find it. Yeah. We could do an entire show about this and the inability for Games Workshop to be honest with us about the quantity that they have and the amount and where it is. Hey, we've got a first batch that's coming out here, and then later on down the road, we'll have more of them come out. And the other thing, I don't know how true this rumor is, but my understanding is that the Orc Codex is available for like another month and a half.
Yeah.
And the only way to get it right now is this box that is now sold out across the planet.
Yeah.
So now I can't. It brings up a whole nother issues too from tournaments, which I love to go to. Do you allow the new Orc Codex?
Yeah. Which one are you going to allow? Yeah, this is a nightmare for TOs.
Right, because it's not available anywhere.
Right. Yeah, and the points that you brought up, okay, the bots. I honestly, Gary, I'm going to say this right now as far as Games Workshop is concerned and their sales on the internet. I don't want to hear about bots anymore because they talk about we're going to put you guys in a waiting list, we're going to have a queue system, we're going to do all this kind of stuff. They've never been able to solve the bot issue, you're absolutely right. You know something? I think their methods are so kind of slapped together that it's aggravating when it comes to the bot. I on another purchase one time, I sat in their queue for about 18 minutes. I think it was realistically. Look, I don't. If I want an 18-minute sit around, I'll go to the store and BS with the manager.
Right.
And I like how you brought up the 3D printing because that's a real thing that Games Workshop needs to understand. That is a real thing that they and I think if they don't understand the realistic nature and the threat of a 3D printer, they do. They're not stupid. They didn't get to be $1 billion company by not thinking that some guy in his basement eating cold meatloaf doesn't have 2 or 3 3D printers popping those things off.
So, quick question for you.
Yeah.
How much is the Beast Snag a box right now? If it was available and I could go buy it.
I want to say, well, you know what? I'm not gonna do the want to say. I'm gonna actually look it up right now. I'm gonna tell you right now, because I think the Beast Snagga box. Why does $200 come into my brain? But
usually, I think usually that's what it is for the boxes, is right around there. So Beast Snagga Orcs Army set.
So
right?
yeah,
sold out online, $199.
$199. Okay, yeah, I knew it was $200. I remember seeing that. So
$199.
yeah,
right now, eBay $350 is the cheapest one.
Hello, bot. Yeah,
Right,
yeah.
550, 400, 355, 335, 332, 306, 295, 485, 232. Like, oh, you said the cheapest was this. Those are bids, folks.
Yeah.
That's not a buy it now.
Right.
So it's available if you want to go out there and pay more for it, because our lovely friendly game company can't get their supply chain stuff in one sock to be able to put out what should be one of the biggest box sales outside of Indominus that they've ever had.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. And and I want to say this. I think this is a severely black eye, swollen, Mickey cut me kind of a black eye, because
but
for
GW.
It's
it's not like the first black eye.
I know.
It's not like the first snag on it. They
Yeah.
put out one codex, it was missing a page.
Oh yeah, I remember that. Which codex was
Right.
it? That was
I think it was
that Drukari?
I don't remember which one. No, it was an older one. It was back. And
Okay.
I want to say Dark Angels and Blood Angels back then.
Okay.
But the point about it is this company's stock has been going through the roof over the last 2 years.
Well,
They have the money to get a quality research and development, QA, and supply chain managers.
Right.
Matter of fact, name's Gary Frank. You want a supply chain manager? Call me. We'll negotiate it and we'll fix this.
hey, I want in that deal too. As Gary Frank's agent, give me a call.
Because it's ridiculous. I mean, they knew beforehand.
Yeah, and
what is this 1 to 3 nonsense?
Oh,
we're going to give you 1 to 3. We don't know how many. You know what? Don't send me anything.
Yeah, you know what? Maybe you can only buy more than 3 if you're a bot. But yeah, this whole limited release of this box set, and especially with the new codex, it really feels just idiotic to me.
With the codex in the box. That's ridiculous.
Here's the thing: the non-limited codex really should have dropped at the same time. There's also this other codex that's floating around there and I just think that, here's the thing: this isn't the same as I want to boil all the water out of the pot here, because this isn't the same as the Sisters and the Lumineth meaning the Age of Sigmar, but the Sisters here in 40K, where there was no pre-existing faction in place. Okay, I mean, the real issue here is now there are orcs in 40K are like peanut butter to jelly. I mean, they have been around forever, and now there are 40K orc players running 2 different sets of rules. Really crappy, GW. Really way to step on your dork on that one.
And they also need to figure this out quick. Orc players, there's orc players, and then there's just orc players, because there's no I kind of play orcs. You either do or you don't.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
And you are now going with some of the greatest guys I've ever played against. I've been smashed by orcs, and I've smashed by orcs, and the game has been just as fun every time.
Right.
Just because of the personality of the table. You've got a group of people that is some of your biggest fanatical fan base about a particular faction that you have, and then you want to come in and basically give them the big FU on the release on you'll be lucky if you get it and your book comes out in a couple of months. Are you nuts?
Yeah.
That's like going up to somebody that is supporting you and making excuses for you, and then buying all these old ancient models. You haven't given an Orc Boy update in, I don't know, a decade or something.
Right.
And now whenever you do, you say, oh, here it is, but you can't buy it unless you want to pay triple the price for it, because we apparently can't manage supply chain.
Right. And here's one you want to add insult to injury. Now you got this box set you got this codex. It's in the box set that you can't get because they're out and the bots have them all.
Well, unless you want to go do a car payment on eBay.
Yeah, exactly. Unless you want to finance your kids. But one thing that I think is freaking ridiculous is now there's Orc Codex Leaks. You want to talk about just insult to injury. Now you're dangling that carrot in front of all these Orc players.
Supposedly, and I got this event. At day one, I went back to the room, laid down, and started looking at my round two opponents list and strategize about that. Then I get this text that says, "Hey, the Orc Codex has been leaked if you have the GW app." Right.
Yeah.
So I didn't even look. I just opened the app and just started taking screenshots. And then after my thumb got tired of that, I just looked at it and went, "Oh, the Orc boys are still toughness 4." So I'm like, okay, well, apparently they fixed it. So I had to go remove all that stuff from my phone. So that should just tell you on the outside, if you've been around for a while and worked in business, on how mismanaged and discombobulated that whole process is.
Right.
Because you have to actually upload that to where that's at and have it available without it having to be purchased or code put in.
Yeah, and I got to tell you, it's like my sister's kids ended up in GW's headquarters, because here's the thing.
Right.
What kind of a knothead are you in Nottingham that you're going to leak all this crap? Put it. And look, I know it was a GW leak. I know it was kind of an appeasement thing to kind of pacify all the Orc players who were pissed off standing in a line that trying to pay for a box they can't get. But and no one's going to ever make me believe otherwise. That this wasn't a sham deal. But the fact of the matter is that they leaked this thing, and what are you supposed to do with that? It's like people don't even know. Stores don't even know. GW stores don't even know when the next shipment is going to be in.
Right, and they do know.
You mean the GW stores? You think?
The GW knows, and if you're a straight affiliate with them, you should know as well. And if they're not telling their manager of those stores that, they are doing themselves a grave injustice, because what does GW want the managers to do? Sell, sell, sell. When's this box coming in? When's this box coming in? I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know.
Right.
So,
right.
What are you doing? Now you're handcuffing the people that are on the other end that work directly face-to-face with your community. Boxes, releases in history for them is coming out. And I don't know.
Yeah, you're making your managers look like a bunch of schnooks.
Right. And anybody who knows that knows it's not the manager's issue. Right. It's from the top down. Everything in business, work, household life goes from here down. Right. Top down. The attitude at the top is the attitude down here. Right. The flow at the top is the flow is down here. Yep. And they knew how many boxes they had. They knew how many they'd be able to produce. They knew should have planned that accordingly. They should have just went, this is going to be a was this a special release?
Yeah. Yeah, it was. It was a special release, because also they had a limited release, a non-limited codex. You
should never release the codex in a limited release.
Exactly.
Ever.
Exactly.
That is beyond apprehensible to me for them to be able to go through and do that. And I know it's a lot of, you and I may be a little bit more passionate about it because of what we choose to do as our hobby on the side. But if I was an Orc player right now, dude, I would be pissed.
Oh, here's the thing. I'm a fairly new 40K player, and I don't even play Orcs, and I'm pissed. Because what this tells me is that, here's the thing, there's an old saying, there's a difference between a mistake and a fuck up.
Correct.
And the thing is, you learn from your mistakes and you eliminate them. Fuck ups keep going along for a long, long, long time.
Right.
And I'm afraid this is going to leak into my beloved Knights or something else, maybe AdMech or some other army that I'm interested in. Because here's the thing, they're not going to keep just shambling down. They're not going to look. There has been a long history of QA/QC problems with Games Workshop. But I'm going to say this right now. It seems like the bigger they've gotten, it's almost like they've grown too fast. It's getting worse.
I don't think they've grown too fast. I think that they don't want to spend the money to hire all of this stuff. So they're growing, but they're not adjusting with themselves. They're going up, and that might be an issue of growing too fast. But once again, to be able to look and go, we're going to get bigger. We need to ensure that the product we send out is correct. Oh, here's something else.
Okay.
Real quick. You remember they changed the board size? They changed from 40K, and they went, all you got to do is take these kill team boards and put them together, and you have the perfect size.
Yeah. It's supposed to be 44 by 60.
I have this little GW chip in my head that makes me buy shit when it comes out like that. So I went
Okay.
and bought it. I laid it out and I played on it. It was awesome. It looks cool. You know, it's thick, it's sturdy, it's nice.
Mhm.
And then I was measuring one day and I was like, this isn't even the right damn size
Yep.
on both sides. Why would I? Who let that go by? Who is in your quality control department that can't measure and go, hey?
Yeah.
If they did you guys go, oh, we've already printed all of them, so just send it out?
Yep. That's exactly what happened. Yeah. Yeah.
Large business. You're a growing business that everybody loves to play with. Get your shit in one sock so we don't have
Yep.
excuses for you all the time.
Yeah. Yeah.
And and just in case you hadn't noticed, you guys are expensive.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Very expensive.
So I am a firm believer of I will pay more, but I'm a firm believer of getting what I pay for.
You have to. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely. But
not getting any of that.
you know, I mean, honestly, you know, we could talk about this for the entire show. We got tournaments to talk about after this, but I knew that you were going to be peeling that onion layer back on this one, man. But yeah, you know, way to f up on the orcs there, GW.
Yep.
And I want to say this right now.
Good job.
Yeah. And you know, to all of our orc pals out there, to all the people listening and watching to play orcs, we're sorry, man. You know, we don't know what to say. You know, I mean,
they won't say it to you. So here, Grim, we're sorry that they can't figure out how many they have and be truthful to you.
Yeah. But you know, with that, go grab a Coke and come back and join us. We're going to be talking about tournaments right here, man.
I'm gonna have to go do something.
A public service announcement brought to you by Frag Factory 3D Printing. Many of us have thousands of dollars in miniatures, yet we play on flat tables with books and overturned Tupperware to act as our fantasy and sci-fi landscapes. We've all drooled over the tables we see in magazines lush with beautifully created terrain from all genres. The crew at Frag Factory 3D Printing want to wipe that drool from your chin and put it firmly on your friends and fellow gamers when they see your setup. Alien landscapes, desert wastelands, futuristic cities, fantasy outposts, elven forests, demonic stronghold, and so much more. Find out what you've been missing by checking us out on Facebook at Frag Factory 3D Printing or send us an email at fragfactory3dprinting@gmail.com. Bring your own files or we will help you find what you've been searching for. Take your gaming to the next level with Frag Factory 3D Printing. We print life into your games. Tell them Grimdark Live sent you, and your first hour of printing is free.
Hey gang, in all seriousness, get your terrain on the table and get it with Frag Factory 3D Printing. And remember, tell them Grimdark Live sent you and they'll give you 1 hour free. You can get them via email at fragfactory3dprinting@gmail.com or their Facebook page, Frag Factory 3D Printing.
Frag Factory 3D Printing. Printing life into your games.
Now, back to the show. Chaos Storm, man, that's what we're here to talk about. We're here to talk about Gary's most recent escapades. I keep using that word. I'm mispronouncing that word. Escapade? Escapade.
Yeah, we're
That's
going
what
to
I'm
remove that from your vocabulary as soon as.
Boy, I never learned too good in American. Yeah, I am really botching the piss out of that one. But yeah, you know, folks, we are going to be talking to Gary and listening to his stories of triumph and blackening souls and ruining hearts and all that kind of stuff out there at the tournament. But so to kind of give everyone kind of another upbrush, if you will, of what we're talking about here is he's back from the Chaos Storm 2021. It was a 2-day, 5-round 40K ITC event. 2,000 point armies. And this had a 3 detachment max, and the rounds were 2.5 hours a piece. So
they
Gary,
changed that to 3 hours.
what's that?
They changed it to 3 hours.
Oh, 3 hours. Okay. And but that wasn't all you were playing in. You also played in a Friday event. That was an invitational.
Yeah, they had an invitational on Friday, so we got there. There was a group of 16 of us, and that one you joined. That one was 2.5 hour rounds.
Okay.
And I'm gonna tell you what, you can get it done, but you're gonna lose a couple pounds in the process because you don't have a lot of times to BS with your partner and catch up, which is difficult because you haven't seen these guys in probably months.
Yeah, I'd imagine. I imagine with those kind of rounds, that's like speed dating with a prostitute.
It is pretty quick, you know. So you just got to put your blindfold on and go for it. So,
right. So let's hear about it. So you got this Friday invitational.
Yeah, the Friday one's pretty quick. So
okay.
I can go to that one. So first round, I played against Custodes, which is Nathan Francis, and
yeah,
very good guy.
Yeah,
He's
I heard the name.
Yep, he's actually ranked fairly high as for custodes go. For people who don't know this, ITC not only has the overall ranking, they have a ranking by faction. So if you're a custodes player, your goal is to be the highest Adeptus Custodes player that there is. You're only going to compete against other Adeptus Custodes players. So, that keeps you very interested in it, because people are like, well, my book's not that good. Well, you're playing with everybody else.
Sure.
That's the same thing to go up there. So he's ranked 18th out of 218 custodes players.
And that's with custodes. Yeah, that's pretty darn good, man. So you had your game against that guy, man.
Yeah, we played him, and he had minimized losses. And 40K, you have the primary, which is typically hold 1 objective, 5 points, hold objective, 10 points. If you hold more than your opponent, you get 15. That's almost standard in every mission. Sometimes it's hold 2 instead of hold 1. But you also have a secondary that you can take that's related to the mission. And this one was minimized losses, which is one of the worst secondary ones to take, which says if you have more than 75% of your units left at the end of the game, you get 15 points. Between 50 and 75, 10. Between 25% and 50, 5. Under 25, 0.
Right.
And the game is so volatile or so deadly right now, you really don't ever take that because you don't have missions back.
Sure.
Except for Custodes. Custodes are very durable. Very. So he took that secondary, and he took another one, Stand We Fight, which means you have to kill 3 specific units in his list, or he gets 15 points. And then he had taken something else. So I lost that game 93 to 83 because there was a Telemann Dread Knight with 1 wound left.
It's always the way.
5 Vinatary with 1 model left with 2 wounds in it. If I kill those, I now take his minimized losses down and take his Stand We Fight away, and I win by 5 points.
Sure.
So,
Yeah. So I'm going to go back and ask you a question about this invitational. So in this invitational, I mean, well, I'm probably going to eat my question here after what you just described, but is this more of a, it's an invitational. So does that make it more, because I've never actually been to an invitational. I have no friends but you, Gary. But is this more of a relaxed type of an environment, or because it's an invitational, is it more like I'm going to beat the piss out of the guy across the table from me?
No, it's, we kind of, because we've got a group, currently it's called the Untitled Midwest Project. That name's going to change.
Okay.
So the vast majority of the group, Chris and Kevin and everybody went out there, we're all a part of that. And there's the Indiana guys and the Chicago ones. So it's kind of that invitational the day before for some games, BS with each other, and basically get bragging rights and take home a little bit of scratch, which isn't enough to buy that still, even if you were winning first. You can put one on layaway or something. But no, that's what that was for, just to invite the day before to go through it. So,
and that was 3 games, correct?
Well, it's if you lose, you're out.
Oh, so your Custodes, you played, you lost. That was it. Okay.
Played 3 games Friday and then 5 games over the weekend. So I was like, I don't know if I want to win round 1. I mean, I like to play a lot, but I want to chill out Friday, go out and BS with some friends. We're not to go through it. So
sure.
But so that was that one, and that one was minor. So getting into if it's okay to segue into the 5-rounder.
Yeah. So this started on Saturday morning, and so obviously you played 3 games on Saturday and 2 on Sunday. Am I right?
That's correct.
Okay. All right.
So on Saturday morning, I get there, I see it's Tau, and I was like, Tau is kind of in a rough spot, but you got to respect the player, because it's not always it's how the person operates it, which we went through. So we go to the back of the room, and I get to the table, and I look, and I'm like, man, there's not a lot of terrain on here I can hide behind. Mm-hmm. And I want to basically get across and get in your lines and start punching stuff. And there's not a lot of like leapfrogging for me to be able to do. Opponent gets across from me, and then we get set up, and I won the roll to go first. So I was able to that one by making some charges and taking over the objectives off of the sides and shutting down those Overwatch. So Space Wolves power that turns off Overwatch.
Okay.
I also have suppressors in my list that says if you hit a unit, you don't have to kill anything. and if it's infantry, they can't overwatch it.
Okay.
So I'm not getting shot at when I'm running in. For your AOS listeners out there, that would be the Unleashed in AOS.
Right.
So Overwatch and 40K. So as we went through that one and played, I wound up, to be honest, whenever things started not dying on my end. Tau is up against it for this reason. The whole army basically hits on 4s. They have a couple of units that hit on 3s. But their whole shtick is to put marker lights on you, which increase army's efficiency against that unit.
Sure.
So basically, it's like target up that unit and then shoot it off the table. Well, function is I have a psychic power called Stormcaller. Everything within 6 inches of that librarian gets +1 to their save from being in cover.
Okay.
Storm shields, it gives them a +1 to their save. So if you're at a Terminator, you're at a 0-up save. So if you're hitting me with AP -3 against it.
Okay.
And after that goes off, there's a stratagem, 2 command points. Librarian, I'm also -1 to hit. So now his army's hitting on 5s. And I have really good saves again. Enough to get it off of there. So I go across, kill the units that are holding objectives, and start to lock down the bigger units and take. And I wound up winning that game 98-26.
Yeah. So let me go back to that one on game 1. So, I mean, this edition, when we talk about, 9th edition 40K with the smaller board size, 44 by 60, I mean, that really kicked Tau in the nuts. I mean, because, and again, I'm going to very loosely paraphrase it here, but, Tau are paper tigers in close combat. Their whole shtick in 8th edition was to shoot you off the table.
Right.
Now, what's that?
But it's just a harder stick to pull off.
Okay. Okay. All right. So you're going into game 2 on Saturday. Yeah. You're now 1-0. Who's game 2? Right. Yeah. Game 2
is Iron Hands, real nice British fellow that I played against, Aaron Shepard, right?
Okay.
And we're at lunch, and I'm looking at the list because in Best Coast Pairings, you can see a list of your opponent. I'm like, okay, I'm going to be playing this guy. And I'm looking at the list, and I'm like, I'm in trouble. And my friends that I'm eating lunch with, like, oh, no, you got it. Just do this, this, and this. And everybody knows how to play your army. And I'm looking at it, and they're like, oh, you'll be okay. And I'm looking at the list, and I'm like, no, I don't think I will.
So, I mean, Iron Hands at one time were actually pretty darn good.
Right.
And I know they took a little bit of a hit in 9th edition, but what was it about his list that made you kind of sit back and worry?
I had an option when I went into this of 2 different Space Wolves to take. One is hyper aggressive, doesn't have a lot of shooting in it. It's largely close combat oriented. Okay. The ceiling for that army is lower than the all-comers list that I'm taking. What I mean by that is there's some things you're just not going to win with that because you don't have the shooting, and you need to get rid of it before you go in to punch it.
Sure, I got it.
So, and I'm used to playing that style of list, and I was talking to my buddy Aaron before this, and I'm like, you know what? I'm going to switch to this all-comers one because the ceiling for it's higher, and I just need to learn.
I understand. Okay, all right, I got
you. Yep. That's the difference that goes into that one. So I'm looking at this Iron Hands list, and he has a ton. Actually, I can just tell you, and I won't go into the boringness of breaking down everything to go through it. He has a ton of dreadnoughts that are in this list.
That's pretty common with Iron Hands.
Yep. 3 Redemptors, a Relic Contemptor, a Leviathan. Then he also has a Land Raider Achilles in the list.
Yeah.
And a couple of troops, like 15 troops, and then 2 librarians, and then this Primaris Tech Marine that just runs around going, you're going to shoot better, I'm going to heal you, you're going to shoot better, I'm going to heal you, the entire game.
Yeah, right.
So my plan was just to play the mission. I don't have the firepower to pick up those models of his.
Right.
I don't. Right. Because he has psychic powers that gives them invulnerable saves, or it can make them tougher, things like this. The damage on dreadnoughts when you shoot at them is now reduced by 1. And the highest damage I have in my army are Thunder Hammers, which is 3 flat damage, Macroplasma, 3 flat damage, and then close combat, which I'm never getting into close combat with this guy.
Sure.
Never.
Right.
Achilles has 8 multi-melta shots on it. That your dreadnought's dead.
No, yeah, you're a goner.
Right. So I lost that one, but I didn't like get destroyed. Like, I'm going to pull together and just get as many points as I can. So I lost that one 95-62.
Okay. So now you're coming out of that minor beating against Iron Hands. You're 1-1. And now
Yep.
you're coming up against the end of Saturday, game 3.
Right.
Who are you looking at?
And I look across the table and I see Slanesh Demons. 3 Keeper of Secrets, like 33 units of 30 Demonettes, or 2 units of 30 and 1 unit of 10. He's got, like I said, 2 Keeper of Secrets, 3 Keeper of Secrets, the Super Chicken, all of this stuff to be unkillable. And this guy's in from California. He was there visiting family, saw that there was an event, and went, "Oh wait, I can get in this tournament while I'm here." And we sat down to play. Great guy, his name was Greg, and he's like, "I'm not a tournament player, so if I'm doing something wrong, let me know." I'm like, "Bro, I'm not even like that. Let's just play. It's a game. Doesn't matter if it's a tournament or not.
Right.
It's just a game, and we play it."
That's a great attitude.
Fortunately, I played against a friend of mine, Kevin Leonard, and he plays with a similar list to that all the time. So I have quite a few reps against it.
Right.
And so he goes first. It's like, okay. So when you're playing against this type of list, folks, you don't want all of that nonsense in your backfield. Keeper of Secret beating you up, Demonettes locking you down, all of these kind of things. So I screened off to where he could only basically kill chaff units.
Sure.
And Kevin and I played enough where Kevin played more cagey, get rid of chaff units, charge late. Greg just went, I'm here to play. Across the table, he went.
Well, he's got an older codex in that demon codex. He's got no choice, man. He's got to come at you.
So he came across that, and in my immediate mind, I'm like, that was a mistake, because you don't want me to be able to charge you on my terms.
Sure.
So I heroic then picked up some Demonettes, and the first 2 turns, he was with it. I mean, he had control of the board, he had everything on there, but I'm like, okay, I'm going to kill all of this by turn 3. Then he's going to have nothing of a threat left. Then I just go back and clean up.
Right.
And that's what happened.
Okay.
Turn 3 came around. I got to do a first turn charge with a Redemptor into a Keeper of Secrets, which I've never gotten to do.
Right.
A Redemptor in close combat is terrifying. Their damage, he's like strength 14, neg 4 AP, and their damage is D3 plus 3.
Yeah.
5 attacks, hitting on 2s. It's pretty good, but he didn't kill that. He didn't really kill anything, but he locked stuff down.
Sure.
So I was able to grind all of that out. Oh, and also in my list, I have a Colexus Assassin.
Oh, I love those models. Love them.
Next to a librarian. And people are like, why do you have a Colexus Assassin standing next to a librarian?
I was actually just going to ask that same question.
Well, against demons, I'm not casting anything anyway, because they have so many denies that are bonuses. My 2 spells are useless.
Right.
So I also have a relic on the librarian that has an 18-inch bubble of neg 1 to cast. The Colexus is 18-inch bubbles of neg 2 to cast. And if you fail a psychic power on 4+, you take D3 mortal wounds.
Oh.
So I run those next to each other because he's got all Keeper Secrets.
Yeah, right.
All this coming up. So everything's at neg 3 to cast. To make a long story short on that one is by turn 3, every big monster was dead. The 3 Keeper Secrets were dead. The Lord of Change was dead. All the Demonettes were dead. And now it was just me going back and taking more control and killing off everything else.
Yeah, so you sent him back to California with his tail between his legs.
But you know what?
Go ahead.
That was one of the best games I'd ever played, because he was like, okay, cool. He's going through it, and it wasn't the high pressure of, I got to make this move perfect and all that kind of stuff. He's like, you know what? I'm here to play. And he just takes that Lord of Change that was set on top of his ruin in the middle and just drops it right in the middle of my army. And I was like, he just took that and dropped it in the middle of a bunch of drunk Vikings that want to fight.
Right.
You are awesome.
Yeah. And what's funny, what I like about that is he obviously knew that he was playing with one of the older codexes. He's playing an all-demon army. He probably was up against it. He probably, and as you just said, he wasn't prepared to play in the tournament.
Right.
And it's almost like when you and I talked about, I was considering playing Nurgle Demons. 40K all demon. And I talked Gary's ear off about it. Should I do this? How should I build that? And I think for me, because I'm kind of a snob, I decided to hold off on that. But it's kind of awesome that you played a guy that obviously isn't a snob, a pretty cool dude, and it makes the game a lot better, right?
Well, it does. And Kevin Leonard, which is from here, plays a very similar list to that. I think he finished 4th or 5th with Slanesh Demons and won Best Chaos and Best Painted.
Okay. Well, then I guess that goes back to what we talked about, Gary. The mechanics of it, right? If you repetition, you get the reps in with the Army, you can beat anybody. All right.
Understanding what it is you're doing. So at the end of that one, 2-1.
So yeah, here's Saturday. We're sitting at 2-1, and we come right back. We're gonna have to hear about Sunday. Right. So you're going into Sunday 2-1. All right, folks, stick around because we want to hear about how Gary just clobbered people. Right back. Hey gang, I wanted to take a break in today's show to introduce one of our sponsors and a great store for all of your hobby needs. That's GameStorm Gaming in Lamont, Illinois. Open 7 days a week, 12 to 12.
GameStorm Gaming has got you covered for all of your hobby and gaming needs. They got Magic the Gathering, War Machine, X-Wing, Game of Thrones, Force of Will card game, PC gaming and repair, Warhammer 40K, and Age of Sigmar, and a ton more. Grab paints, brushes, cases, dice, and a lot more at GameStorm Gaming in Lamont, Illinois.
Stop in and see John and the gang there at GameStorm Gaming, located at 1243 State Street, Lamont, Illinois, or check them out on their website at GameStormGaming.com. Again, that's www.GameStormGaming.com.
They also stay open past midnight for special cases and events, so get over there and get your nerd on with GameStorm Gaming, 1243 State Street, Lamont, Illinois, 630-243-9330. Again, that's GameStorm Gaming, 1243 State Street, Lamont, Illinois.
GameStorm Gaming is a proud sponsor of Grimdark Live. We hope to see you there. Hey, you Grimdark goons, thank you so much for joining us on the show. But hey, if you're new to the Grimdark Live experience, please don't forget to subscribe, follow, and like our show. This way you'll always know when it's time for Grimdark Live. And if you're a returning listener, thanks for being back. We love all you dice-chucking, glue-sniffing gamer goons. Also, please recommend us to your friends, as Grimdark Live is a great show to get your nerd on every week. And if you like some after-ear action, give our podcast a listen after the live show. The podcast is typically published a couple of days after the live show. The link to the podcast is in the show notes below. And if you're already listening to our podcast, you rock, man. And if that ain't enough for you, check out our website at www.grimdarklive.com. Again, that's grimdarklive.com. All right, now let's get back to the show. All right, Sunday. Here we are, man. We are back talking about Chaos Storm 2021 with Gary and his adventure out there in Indianapolis for this 5-game tournament event. And so right now, going into Sunday, after a great game, coming off his third game against Slaanesh Demons, he's now 2-1. So Gary, who are we looking at now, man? We got Game 4 Sunday morning.
Right. So we go to eat after this, and I look at the pairings, and for use Best Coast pairings, and they have the rankings.
Yeah.
It's the odd number is going to play the even number. So one's going to play 2, 3's going to play 4.
Okay.
I can figure it out. Right?
Yeah, right.
So I look at it, and there's me, and I look underneath it, and there's one of my playtest partners, Chris Solar, running Necrons, right?
Sure.
And I struggle against it. I always have, because Necrons, if you can't kill that 20-man, and he runs 3 20-man warrior blobs, the Silent King, a Ghost Ark,
sure,
Tim Lich Guard,
Lich Guard, right?
Yeah, and support characters,
okay, right.
And we had talked about this with him. It's like, hey, if you take the Necron specific one, which is Purge the Enemy, which means starting turn 2 for every table quarter at the end of his turn that I don't have a unit in, he gets 2 points.
Okay.
And Necrons like to just sit there and say, stay off my lawn, just. If you come over here, I shoot you, and at the end of my turn, I get points.
That's what they do.
Right. And so there's that one. Then we said, and if you take While We Stand, We Fight, which is the 3 most expensive units in your army, you get 5 points for each one of those that are alive at the end of the game. So you take the Silent King, you take the Lich Guard, and you take one of the Warrior Blobs. Right? You protect those 3.
Yeah.
Even if I kill one, you're still getting 10 points.
Mm-hmm. But you have familiarity with this particular build, right? Okay.
I do, and I had never cracked it before. It was always like close games, you know. Then I was like, I have to change what I'm doing. And this is where, and I'm not trying to brag or anything like that, but I think there's a moment when you're playing competitively that you switch and your brain starts to think at a different level than it's used to being. Because like the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over and over again and expecting a different result. So like, okay, I'm not going to do that again. So I'm like, okay, I need to go first. If I go first, I can really, really put pressure on Chris and force him to basically play the way I want to play. So typically what I would do against him is I'm going to do my list real quick.
Sure. Yeah, let's hear it.
So I took it to Sam Dayton, who had designed a list, another Space Wolf player. Him and I met at another event. So we went through it, and I basically took it from him. I'm not an innovator. I'm not going to lie, and I play with what I think is the best I can operate with. So
sure, most of us do the same thing.
Right, single battalion. I start with 9 command points. I have Bjorn the Fell-Handed. He has a Hellfrost Cannon. Then I have a Phobos Librarian with Lord of Deceit, Stormcaller Psychic Power, and Murderous Hurricane. So Lord of Deceit's really awesome. It says after you do the roll to see who goes first,
sure, you
can redeploy 3 Phobos units. So you can redeploy the Librarian, and I have 2 Cursor Squads in my troops, which are Phobos units, and I have a unit of Grey Hunters. And then I have 2 Redemptor Dreadnoughts, Macroplasmas, those are hooked up. And then the Punch is 3 Wolfguard Squads. These are Jump Pack, Storm Shield, Lightning Claws. 2 of their units are like that. 1 unit's all Thunderhammers.
Okay.
And then there's 5 Wolfguard Terminators, Lightning Claws, Storm Shields, and to cap all of that off, there's a Calixus Assassin and 2 units of 3 Suppressors. That's the whole list to go through. So, and the biggest part of that list that helped in this game was the troops. So we're playing Surround and Destroy, which is old Dawn of War deployment, and there's 2 objective markers in your deployment zone. And he took Purge. I took Engage on all fronts, which means when you have a unit in 3 table quarters, you get 2 points. If you have a unit fully within 4, you get 3. And then I took Banners because I have stuff in my zone, yada, yada, to go through that.
Sure.
So the biggest one is when Chris deployed, on his right flank, he put 20 warriors, a character that has a Veil of Darkness. Veil of Darkness lets you pick up a unit within, I believe it's 6 inches of him, and move it anywhere you want to on the board.
Yeah, we talked about that. That is 6 inches.
Right.
Yeah, we brought that up once before.
Yeah, move it anywhere you want to on the board.
Right.
So he could banner there and then leave if he wanted to. So what I usually did, and I wanted to roll to go first, what I usually did when I deployed is I take my incursors, I put them on objectives, I put up banners, and then do some movement and then let him go.
Sure.
And then he would wind up killing stuff off of the objectives, and I really didn't do much damage to him because of terrain, and it became a cagey game, which I'm not going to win against Necrons.
Sure.
So instead of doing that, when I redeployed, I took 2 units of incursors, and I put them 9 inches away from his deployment zone, which put me roughly 13, 14 inches away from that 20-man warrior unit.
Sure.
Then I went first. I already knew this, so I moved them in. I used the command point to put 1 unit in the Assault Doctrine. What that does for Space Wolves is that unit, when they fight, their AP is now -2, and 6s, unmodified 6s to hit, result in an extra hit. So makes it more lethal. And Space Wolves already hit on 2s when they charge anyway, because that's their bonus. They get +1 to hit.
They hit on 2s when
they
charge?
get +1 to hit. Yeah, when they charge,
okay.
Hit charge, heroically intervene,
sure.
They get +1 to hit.
Okay.
So I put 1 in the Assault Doctrine. I put both units over there so they could get in and move them close. I took my Chaplain and jetted him over there, used the stratagem for +2 to charge. So now I got a free, I was basically 13 inches away. I got to move 6 inches, so I'm about 7 inches away, and a +2 to charge. So I've got like a 5-inch charge, right?
Yeah.
What I learned from Chris before, and thanks for playing me, Chris, before, is they have a thing called Set to Defend. It's a Necron protocol. So when they overwatch, you would hit on 6s. That unit would hit on 5s, and he's got 40 shots. So if I were to charge him, he could pick up a significant amount. It wouldn't do much.
Sure.
That's where the suppressors came in, because the suppressor, if you shoot a unit and it hits the unit, they cannot overwatch.
Got it.
So I moved the suppressors 10 inches over, shot across the field, and they couldn't overwatch me. Then I charged with both incursor units, and I gave one of them +1 to hit. So I didn't kill the 20-man blob. I knew I wouldn't, because Necrons, the way they function is after you do your attacks, if you haven't wiped the unit, they pick up a dice for every bottle you killed, and on a 5+, they get one back.
Yeah, but you kind of mentioned that wasn't your intention to kill that 20 blob unit. That wasn't something you were going to do. Okay, got it.
And then they reroll ones because they're warriors. So I got to fight with both of those units, right?
Got it.
Now I'm in his zone. I'm on his objective. That unit's down to 10 models, and we're locked in combat. So he has to leave. He can't stay there and fight me.
Sure, right.
The rest of my army, I basically just moved up to the center. And got Stormcaller and Neg 1 to hit that I mentioned before. So I got this nice little castle of Dreadnoughts and Terminators and whatnot that are fairly safe from Necron shooting, because they don't have a ton of it. They more... So Chris's turn comes, he has the Veil of Darkness out of there. He shoots onto that objective, doesn't kill a unit. So I still have a unit of 5 and a unit of 2 on that objective over in the corner. And he's now being forced into one flank.
Sure.
And he does some other things, and when turn 2 came around, I was able to put 5 banners down. So I was on 5 out of the 6 objectives on turn 2.
Okay.
And he really had no way of getting
catching up at that point, right? Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And then I just pressed and became overly aggressive into his corner and started to pick up stuff and remove things. So that game went largely into my favor, but it's because we play tested and I knew what didn't work.
You knew his army. But what I think was interesting is you went from not knowing if you could beat this army, not making those adjustments, and winning. Right.
Because I'm like, I have to be aggressive on this one. And if it goes right, it's there was a movie a long time ago called High Roller. It was a story of Stu Unger, right?
Sure.
And it was one of those, if I guess right, he's just destroyed and this is over. And I guessed right.
Yeah.
You know, I guessed going in and doing that would do that. So I won that game 98-44.
All right. So now you're going into game 5 Sunday.
I'm in
3-1.
I'm in 4th place.
Okay.
Out of 50 people.
Not too shabby.
And then I look at who my opponent is, and it's my arch nemesis from the last 5 years, Mr. Aaron Towler, who's been on our show before in the past.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. And a damn great guy, and probably one of your best friends, right?
He is. He is definitely one of my best friends.
Yeah. Aaron's a great guy.
And we talk daily about his list, my list, so there's no surprises. They're the lists are going to play.
Sure.
So, and we're playing for 2nd place, essentially.
Okay.
So we sat down, and he's messing with me. He's like, "Oh, you just want to talk it out?" I'm like, "Nah, there'll be no talking it out. We're going to play."
Yeah, right. Get after it. Get after it.
Right. Yeah. And that's exactly what we did. This was the best game of 40K I think I've ever played.
What is he? What was his army?
So he's playing Dark Angels.
Got it. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. And I can go through his army without looking at the list because I've seen it every Saturday for the last year and a half.
But was it painted?
Okay. Oh, yeah, it was painted. It was painted gorgeously. Finally.
Yeah, right.
I think he had 1 Rhino and 2 bikes that weren't painted, though. Okay. He had to borrow. So, but he's got 2 units of 6 Deathwing Terminators. And for those people out there that may not be familiar with them, is they have permanent transhuman, which means you cannot wound them on anything but a 4, 5, or 6. Okay?
Yeah.
And then he's got them within 6 inches of his character's support group, which gives them a 6-up feel no pain, gives them a 4-up vulnerable save against shooting. He has the ability to reduce the damage they take by 1. And an apothecary, he can heal, just bring 1 back alive. So it's a very, very hard unit to shift.
Right.
Like, very hard. And I know this. I'm not going after that at all. I'm playing the mission.
But you're kind of right back to where you were before with the Necrons in game
Right.
4, where you got that 20 man blob. You're not going to deal with that. But you got to
Right.
figure out a way to deal with it. Right. Okay.
Right.
I'm with you.
Well, so we kind of knew how it would play out because I was done being overly aggressive because I've done that in the past and it didn't work. So once again, let me change this up. So I took, the mission was priority target, which is, he even said, it's like, oh, that's really good for me. So priority target has 5 objectives. It's got 1 in the center and then basically 1 objective in the very center of each quadrant. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And before the game starts, you roll for attacker defender, and then whoever wins the roll gets to pick if they're attacker defender. Okay, so if you pick attacker, you get to take one of the objectives and move it 6 inches in any direction, as long as it's not the one in the center.
Sure.
Whoever the defender is gets to take an A and a B and move them, and then the attacker moves the one that hasn't been moved yet. So you have 4 objectives. Attacker moves 1, defender moves 2, attacker moves 1. So
Right.
all 4 of them get moved.
Okay.
And you pick one of them to be your priority objective, and if you're on that at the end of your turn, you get 3 points. So you're getting 15 off of that, which doesn't help me because he likes to set and really keep you off of, like Chris's army tries to do, keep you off of the yard. Because you got these Terminators to kill.
Yeah. Right.
You commit anything to kill them. He then has a plasma. Oh, his list. Sorry. I'll back up a little bit. So other than the Terminators, he has 2 attack bikes. Those are just to go out and get secondaries. He has a Landspeeder Storm, which is to go get secondaries. And he has a unit of 5 plasma cannon devastators. He uses a 5 grav devastators with 3 grav, 1 heavy bolter in it. And he has a Rhino. Then he has a unit of 4 plasma inceptors, 2 units of scouts, and some troops.
Okay.
Right. So he's set up, and then we're going through the game. And big moments in the game while we were playing is I made a mistake when I was moving the objectives, and I should have done them a little bit differently because I made it a little too easy for him to be on 3 objectives.
Okay.
Which gives him 15 points, which he got a turn, which means he got up on me by 5 on the primary.
Okay.
So now I'm uphill trying to fight back against that, and it's very hard to do.
It's an
But I
uphill
know
fight,
that.
but
Right.
you
Yeah,
you did it,
but,
though. Right.
but I know that. I know what that mistake was. And to be fair, I failed 4 9-inch charges.
Okay.
So, but I won't blame Dice because I didn't need it to be in that position. I could have controlled it differently. So he was on a target. I came in and I tried to shoot the land speeder off of the objective, left it with 3 wounds. And then if I make the charge, I control the objective because I would have 3 models on it. He would have 1.
Sure.
I failed the charge, and failed it with a reroll. So the next turn, I had lost that one. This came down to him controlling. I played very cagey. I didn't give him anything. I got my points. The unit that died, I knew it was going to.
Right.
And what I mean by that is engage in 40K means you have a unit and 3 table quarters or 4. So I was getting those. I knew the units that did them were going to die because I'm in his zone.
Sure.
But score that at the end of your turn. So I was getting those points anyway. I don't care that they die. I got my points.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
And,
you got
he
your
was
points.
doing-
Sometimes you got to play that way.
Right. And he was doing the same thing. So the mistakes that I made, I had no reason to. Oh, he took Oath of the Moment from one of his secondaries. So Oath of the Moment is a Marine specific secondary that says if you have a unit within 6 inches of the center of the battlefield at the end of the battle round, you get 2 points. If nobody fell back or failed a morale check in your army, it's another point. And if you killed a vehicle or a character, it's another one. So you can potentially get 4 a turn.
Gotcha.
Now, after the fact, I should have never let him shoot at a single character or vehicle the entire game, and just denied him that point. So he would
Okay.
get maximum of 3. Right.
Sure.
And I had the ability to do that, but I didn't. This is what him and I would call big brain knowing after the game is over.
Right. Yeah. Reflective understanding. Right.
Right. So it came down to turn 5. I still had all my Terminators. I still had all 3 units of Wolf Guard. Chaplain's still alive. I lost 2 Redemptors. I've lost Bjorn at this point, but I've also denied him some of his secondary. So it's close, but I know I'm down by like 5 to 10. I already know this. So we go into turn 5, and he just falls back. Not falls back out of combat, but just he's like, I know you're going to come charge me, and you have quite a bit of stuff left to charge me with. I don't need to stay here anymore because I'm up by enough points that I don't need to risk anything. So he moves everything back, and I'm like, damn it. It's like, okay, I'm never going to get to him in combat. But he still put 1 multi-meld attack bike in the middle of the battlefield, so he would get 2 points for Oath of the Moment because it's at the end of the battle round.
Right.
So I move everything up. Oh, quick side note. My chaplain, he has a warlord trait called Hunter, which allows him to advance and charge and fall back and charge. And if he successfully completes a charge, he then gets a 6-inch aura that allows my army to advance and charge.
Got it. Okay.
So he succeeded on this because Aaron brought in some scouts on the side of the board. I charged him. I'm like, cool. Now my chaplain gets the bonus saga, and I really didn't have to put him at risk because
Gotcha.
he was scout.
Right.
So now at the end of the game, I move up, and I'm like, what plays do I have here? I said, I'm not going to really kill anything, but he only has 1 unit that flies, and it's on an objective, which is the plasma insectors, and he has a bike, right?
Right.
So I'm like, the bike in the middle. So I charge everything in my army other than the Terminators to that bike. And long story short, when I get to that bike in the center, the chaplain's ability of +2 to charge also lets me consolidate and pile in 6 inches. So those units get to move a foot.
Sure.
So I pull the bike, and then I move my entire army a foot and try and wall him into his side of the table so he can't go get other objectives to get 15 points.
Sure. Yeah.
And
So-
he looked at it like, oh crap, I didn't know they could go that far. But he was able to come off enough and go through and still get on those. And the reason why that's important, the final score of that game was 94 to 84.
Yeah, so it seems like he got a little complacent when he backed off.
Well, he didn't realize they could still move that far.
Sure, but you said that he kind of backed off the.
Oh, he did because he had the game well in hand. He was up.
Yeah,
by
so
like
that's what I mean. And again, look, I've talked to Aaron and I've seen him play, and he seems like a pretty freaking knowledgeable guy, and he probably beat the hell out of me on the table. But what I'm saying is that everybody gets complacent, right? I mean, you hear about it all the time, and I think he thought he had it in hand, and he backed off.
Yeah, he did have it in hand, but he didn't realize that he was still at risk of potentially losing because of being moved blocked.
I got you. Oh, I see. Okay, right. Okay, all right.
So it was he knew what he was doing, but he didn't realize what the movement repercussions could possibly be.
Understood.
And if I had been in that situation before, and we talked about it in length after it, I could have probably done a better job of it and denied him those points and maybe gotten a tie.
Sure.
So.
Sure. So, all right. So now you're 4-1. You got 5 games in.
Yep. No, 3-2.
Oh, you went 3-2. Oh,
Yeah,
so you did. Oh, I see. So you went 3-2. Okay, Aaron, I apologize, man. I apologize. So now you're sitting at that. You're 3-2. What are your thoughts coming out of this tournament? Well, if you were to reflect back on this tournament real quick and kind of give everyone your 2 cents in a tin can on this one, what would you say?
Make sure you understand the goal of your opponent's army, because knowing your enemy sometimes is even more important than knowing yourself.
Sun Tzu, man. Right.
Yep. So real quickly, I know we're running out of time here. Against Aaron, the max range shooting he had was 36 inches. So, and priority target is an objective in the middle. And with one of the secondaries he took, he always had to have something within 6 inches of the center. I had to took my dreadnoughts and my suppressors and put them all the way in the corner. He couldn't have shot at me the entire game, and I would have had range onto that center objective with everything in my army that shoots. So that is something. Understand what your opponent's limitations are with this army and take advantage of those limitations.
Yeah. I mean, exploit them. I mean, that's really the best way to do it. But I mean, it sounded like an awesome tournament, man. It really did.
And that last game was unbelievable. And we talked about it because we rode home together. And I was like, yeah, if I just put those back there and I just shoot you the entire game, I don't know that I win, but it's a 1 or 2 pointer. And he's like, right. Absolutely, it is.
Yeah,
100%. He's like, but once again, hindsight's 20/20.
Yeah, right. Well, coulda, woulda, shoulda, right? And everyone's got a different reflective understanding of it.
I finished 10th out of in that event, and that put me at 13th place in the Space Wolves.
You're a hell of a with ITC 13th.
ITC and 13th, and to add on to that, then I'm going to toot the horn a little bit. That's with me only having 3 out of 4 games. Well, everybody ahead of me is 4 out of 4.
Well, I got to tell you, man, you're a hell of a competitor, man, and you got street cred with that army for sure. Absolutely, absolutely. Well, good stuff, man. Well, Gary, thank you, man. That was an awesome walk down. And I admit, man, I love your legs, dude. How you can get out to all these tournaments, man. I don't have those kind of legs.
Looking forward to next month.
That's it. But I'm gonna steal the closing thoughts here on the show. We talked about tournaments tonight, and here we are, folks. I think everybody would agree with me that we're getting to that point in the hobby where tournaments are coming back, and they're coming back strong. But it's still been a long time. 2019 was the last time that the tournament scene was hot, and I believe that we're getting to that point where it's getting that way again. Very few tournaments happened between 2019 and now. Armed Forces Day being one of them. I think we all got to ask ourselves, are you ready for tournaments? And I'm not really talking about that whole time you sat around in your basement eating cold meatloaf during COVID, where, did you paint your models? Did you get all that in your army ready? Did you do a battle board? Did you, study your lists? I'm not talking about that. That's all the innate stuff that you should be doing anyway. But what I'm saying is, did you keep the mentality? Did you keep the thought process of what really those tournaments, Gary here talking about Chaos Storm and the many, many other tournaments are going to be happening next weekend, as a matter of fact. But my whole point is, did you keep the mentality in mind of what they're all about? You hear us talk about here on Grimdark Live all the time, the social contract of gaming, and that we're only as good as our last game. Had Gary gotten his nose bent out of shape, against Aaron, a good friend of his, maybe that would have been a rough ending to a good friendship. Or maybe had he got his nose bent out of shape after game 1, he probably would have gone, 0-5 instead of 3-2. But I think also there's something to be said for what those tournaments do. Those behind those things we don't think about, those intangibles, those relationships that we build. Their sports scores are there for a reason. And a lot of times when we were away from people in COVID, we were sitting in our basement eating cold meatloaf. We didn't have that constant contact with those people across the table from us. Sometimes maybe we forgot how to be a person. Maybe we forgot that, and I'm not saying that it's something that you'll never gain back, but always keep that in mind. That's really what these tournaments are about. They're about bringing the community together, and that glue that holds the community together. And so remember all that. And I hope that if you had remembered that, get it back. And if you hadn't remembered that, maybe strengthen it by reminding the person to the left or right of you what we're all here to do, what we're all about. That's it. That's my closing thoughts. That's what I got, man. But good 40K show in the bag, man. But Gary, you're out again. You're hitting another tournament here soon, right?
Yep, Siege World in Collinsville at the end of next month. That's out there by the Forge World Columbia guys, and they put on a great show. There's events that I'll never miss as long as I can. Michigan GT, Adepticon, Siege World, and now the ones Chris running are fantastic as well. So now it's just I have too many options to go through. My Marriott rewards is going to go through the roof.
Yeah. Well, with that, folks, you guys have a great night. Thank you so much for joining with us here on Grimdark Live. And don't forget to join us on Tuesdays for our Age of Sigmar show. And don't forget to join us next Wednesday for more 40K. All right, guys. Thank you so much. Have a great night.
If you like us, hit that subscribe button and we'll talk.
Please do. Bye-bye.
Grimdark Live would like to thank you for slumming it through another show with us for all things dice, dragons, demons, and a dwarf in the Warhammer worlds. We'll be back again real soon, so until then, roll them dice, fun and fair, and don't be a frickin' short pants. You can get your Grimdark Live fix on our live show or catch us on our Grimdark Live podcast. Never fear, gang. There'll be more great content from Grimdark Live coming to you each and every week. So stay tuned and stay grim, all you dice-chucking, glue-sniffing gamer goons. You're all awesome.
Looks like I picked the wrong week to stop sniffing glue.
Remember to embrace the main message here on Grimdark Live, and that's a social contract we have between gamers and the commitment we have to each other in this community. We're only as good as our last game. Check us out at grimdarklive.com, and don't forget to subscribe, follow, and recommend Grimdark Live to your friends. So long, Grimdark Goons. Until next time, may the dice gods bless you and your sweaty palms. Bye.